Sending data. Headphones on. Still sending data. Online on Facebook. What's up, Facebook? What's up, Law and Profits page? What's up, YouTube? Looks like we're live on YouTube. Everything is good to go. We're going to get into the show really quickly here. Give you guys a minute to pile on. We're going to talk about why I'm getting vaccinated today. Should be an interesting show. Hope you guys are ready. Hope you guys are interested. Please be sure to share that show before we get started. Please be sure to hit all the likes in the comments because, you know, Facebook and YouTube, man, they don't really like talking about this sort of stuff, do they? They don't like talking about it. All right. While you guys are pulling in, I'm just going to be pulling up my chat so I can see you guys on the stream. Right. And pop out chat. There we go. And then pull up the Facebook. Pull up the Facebook. Where is that thing? Chat app. Chat. Open. Open. All right. Hopefully that didn't just knock my stream out. I don't think it did. Nope. I don't think so. Did it? Because all right, everybody. Let's it looks like we're good to go here. So let's start the show, shall we?
When a government can confiscate the earnings of the people with no restraint or no limit whatsoever on the amount that government takes, then government has become the master.
Didn't you say that all services were worth at least $5.15, and here there is a service that's being rendered to you personally, which you are not compensating at all?
I said to you earlier, unless someone decides that they want to volunteer.
During the election, all this enthusiasm for Bernie Sanders was taking place while people in Venezuela, under a socialist government, were starving. They were breaking into grocery stores to get desperate to get food.
Regulations.
Some regulations.
Regulation.
What do you think should be the proper income tax rate?
Well, the best would be 0.
Welcome back to another episode of Law and Profits here on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. I'm King Ginger, where the mercy of the wicked is cruel. That's right, the mercy of the wicked is cruel. I just want to remind everybody before we get started that the Fight Laugh Feast conference is coming up in South Dakota. In where is it? It's in South Dakota. What are the cities in South Dakota? It's in the big one, the one where the rock wall monument is. With the racist white old men on it. That is where the conference is going to be. Go to fightlaughfeast.com and you can sign up. Also, if you go to fightlaughfeast.com, you can sign up for the Fight Laugh Feast Network. If you sign up for the Fight Laugh Feast Network, there's a lot of great content on there. Really exciting stuff. I think there's like a church gun and defense training on there too, I heard. So you can sign up for fightlaughfeast.com if you use the code LNP. Or LNP or L ampersand P. I don't know if it matters. Just use something along the lines of Law and Profits, and that way I can get a little bit of credit for it. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining us. If you've noticed the title already, you're probably very concerned or very angry. But the title is called Why I Am Getting Vaccinated. And so before I dive into that, I want to tell you guys a story. Me and my wife had to get a medical checkup for good reasons, which I won't go into on the air. But anyway, so I was at the clinic getting some blood drawn, to check the vitamin deficiencies, check all the good vitamin stuff, nothing to worry about. And I was there about maybe half an hour and left, got everything done. It was fine, typical, normal. It was a vaccination clinic, the place. And so I saw all the signs for the vaccine and whatnot. People were in there. They were getting the vaccine. It was a registered vaccine clinic. And I left without getting the vaccine. However, according to Facebook, I got a notification. And that notification said now that you're vaccinated, let everybody know. So Facebook, through geolocation, noticed that for half an hour I was at a vaccination clinic. Therefore, I must have been vaccinated. It didn't occur to Facebook that there's other things that can be done. But I decided not to tell Facebook the difference. So I updated my profile graphic with the I've been vaccinated graphic border thing that they have, and I even posted a photo of being stabbed with a meat syringe that said that and I said, got my second vaccination shot. I just wanted to make sure that the Facebook algorithm knew completely. I am in, and Facebook, you don't have to worry about me anymore. You don't have to worry about me anymore. And so that is the decision I took. I think it's a bold and brave stance. I want to thank everybody for their support and encouragement during this time. And I want to thank everybody that saluted and honored my bravery. I will let you know if I have any complications. I've been feeling terrible the past day because of this cholesterol-filled meat syringe that went into my arm. But, high cholesterol is definitely a thing to worry about. Yes, so according to Facebook, I have been vaccinated, and you have been clickbaited. Thanks for watching. Hey, look, here's the thing. You gotta go with the systems, man. I don't want Facebook to think for 1 second that I have not been vaccinated. Let's not. If Facebook wants to say I've been vaccinated, then the lords at Facebook can make that decision. So thank you guys all for your prayers. Thank you for your concerns, and well, there we go. I wanted to talk a lot about vaccinations today. I wanted to talk about look, here's the thing. I believe that God has given us science and technology, and I have a post-mill worldview, and so I don't think for a single moment that we should just toss aside science and say, well, this is not good because it's science. We should, however, worry about the consequences of science. That goes for genetic science, DNA science, manipulation, all that sort of stuff is a problem. And as good Christians, we have to kind of look at that stuff and be open-minded about it and also be cautious about it. But here's the thing. I'm not really concerned about the consequences of taking a vaccine. Because obviously, for sure, there are consequences. Johnson & Johnson just said you have a 1 in a million chance of dying due to a blood clot from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It's such a risk, actually, that they've decided to stop distributing it in Europe. They're not going to in America. And then also, by the way, I just want to point this out. Pfizer released this week that in 10 to 12 months, you might need a third dose of the vaccine. If that is not a great plan to make your stock prices rise, I don't know what is. That sounds like a great sales plan for me, is to create this vaccine that everybody has to keep getting every year or so, just to make sure that you're in compliance. It's just not very good. But anyway, what I want to say is God has given us medical advancement. God has given us medical technology. God's given us these sort of things that are good. It's good for us, this medical advancement. MRIs, the ability to get CAT scans, all these sort of things are really incredible and a gift. The problem I have is not with the potential dangers of vaccines, although there are. My problem is with the government mandating vaccinations, limiting travel, limiting speech, limiting the ability to go to church, all because of you deciding you don't want to be vaccinated. I think it's very important to keep in mind that a lot of the segregation laws that we had in 1950s, 60s, and before, a lot of those, the segregations of whites and blacks, the reason blacks had 2 fountains was because what they said was health reasons. Hey guys, this is a health risk. Black people and white people drinking out of the same fountain, that is a health risk. They need to be in the back of the bus where the wind blows back, because we don't want them up front, because the wind blows up front and it'll get and their germs will get on everybody. It was all disguised under health. And so this is a concern whenever I see the government pushing something for the sake of health. And when the government seems to think that they have unending authority because of a health emergency, that is a problem for me. And so that brings me to Canada, which just dropped. James White actually tweeted this just moments ago. Actually, it looks like it dropped around 2:00. I just saw it before I went live, and I wanted to watch it with you guys. I think it's important to watch. So here we go. Whoop, that is the wrong tab. Let's copy and paste that here. Here we go. We'll go back to Fauci, I promise. I promise we'll go back to him. But let's start off with the breaking news, shall we?
Measures in all of North America.
That volume is really low, isn't it?
Strictest measures in all of North America. And the difficult truth is, every public health measure we have left comes with a massive cost to people and their lives. But we have never shied away from doing what's necessary.
We have made the deliberate decision to temporarily enhance police officers' authority for the duration of the stay-at-home order. Moving forward,
okay, look,
police will have the authority.
I just want to know where the Black Lives Matter people are right now. We've made the deliberate decision to give police officers more increased authority. That is scary. We could talk about all the riots that are happening in Minnesota. I'm sure that'll be covered on other shows on the Fight Left Feast Network. But it should concern all of those people that are rioting in Minnesota when the government says we are increasing police authority to enforce the stay-at-home order. That's scary.
To require any individual who is not in a place of residence to first provide their purpose for not being at home and provide their home address. Police will also have the authority to stop a vehicle to inquire about an individual's reason for leaving their residence.
And our inspectors will also be ensuring that those who absolutely must come to work are strictly following the public health measures. For our employers and employees, take note. This is your last warning.
Okay. Why is it that all these videos from totalitarian dictatorships all have this very dreary North Korea kind of style to them? Is it any coincidence that governments make these eerie videos? Is he putting his mask back on? I don't understand. Let's see. Let's continue watching.
I'm wondering about these new police powers to just randomly stop someone walking down the street or to pull over a car.
Who is not in a place of residence
if a person refuses to answer the police questions?
So by issuing these new additional enforcement measures, it allows police officers to ask the person why they are not at their place of residence and what their place of residence is. And specifically to your question, if you are not willing to comply, then you are breaking the law.
If someone sees their neighbors breaking these new regulations and having a party in their yard, that sort of thing, should people call police on their neighbors?
In terms of people calling,
this is fantastic. Who is that guy that's doing that phone call? It's really great.
To snitch, to inform. Look, we all have a personal responsibility. If it means saving lives, then I think we have to think about what your social responsibilities are as an individual to make sure that you don't empower other people and invite a whole bunch of individuals to your home.
I love how she just could not answer that question. She couldn't just say, yeah, absolutely, you should call the police on your dangerous neighbors. It's like, well, we have to think about, people and, like our responsibility when we see people that are endangering the lives of others. We need to sort of think about these things. That's insane. I actually have here, I'll pull it up. I have, this was sent to me by a friend in Canada who sent the rules. There's a lot here. Well, I'll read the whole thing, but specifically we'll talk about churches. But it says, effective Saturday, April 17th, outdoor gatherings are limited to your immediate household only. But people who live alone can still join with one other household. Because, the virus knows the difference. The virus goes, oh, you're lonely. You're lonely. All non-essential construction projects are also being halted. The province is restricting all outdoor recreational amenities, including golf courses, basketball courts, soccer fields, and playgrounds, on the same date. Capacity in big box retailers is being reduced further to 25% capacity, effective Monday, April 19th, which is, by the way, after Sunday. I think that's interesting. They get their church. They're giving you one more Sunday. Effective Monday, April 19th, capacity at places of worships, weddings, and funerals will be capped to a maximum of 10 people, indoors or outdoors. But drive-in services are permitted. Well, isn't that kind of the crown? Isn't that gracious to still allow you drive-in services? Checkpoints will be introduced at all interprovincial borders, limiting access to border crossing between Ontario and Manitoba and Quebec, with exceptions for work, medical care, transportation of goods, etc., 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 etc. So, I just want to say that the churches in Canada, like, now is the time to really rise up. I was talking to somebody who's from Canada today, and it was actually kind of sad because the person said that they're meeting in a home church. And I was like, I asked him, I said, why are you meeting in a home church? And he said, well, the reason I'm meeting in a home church is because, my church shut down. So we sort of had to make the decision, if we're going to meet, all we have is our homes. And so first off, shame on those churches that have already shut down and are forcing your people to meet in their homes. And also, how crazy this is how God tells crazy stories, is you have Canada, who is seen as nice and peaceful people, and now you actually have a legitimate underground church in Canada. This person was telling me, this is true, they were telling me that they make it so the people that come to the home church stagger. So they make sure that they don't come all at once, as to not draw attention from the neighbors. So they make sure that one at a time they come, and then one at a time over a period of time they leave, as to not call attention. There is no church in Canada that is still defying these rules. That is not a state church at this time. Well, wait a minute. I said that wrong. The churches that are following these rules are now considered state churches. They're bowing to the state. This should infuriate Christians in Canada. And look, here's the thing. To the churches in Canada, grace and peace in the name of... Is that how you have to address the underground churches? Every time Pastor Coates write a letter, I'm like, this is awesome. This makes me feel like I'm living in Bible times, because he always does a doxology. But to the church in Canada, you guys have got to be noisy at this point. You still have courts. You still have, to some degree, some sort of legal system there. They're not dragging you out and killing you. Your lives are not actually endangered to the point of being killed on the street, or you're not going to be sent to a labor camp. You might be sent to a Canadian prison, which is still really bad, but the Christian church should be overflowing that prison at this point, I think. I'm very concerned when I talk to Christians in Canada, and they talk about how their church is not meeting. that they don't know where to go to church. And so people are looking to James Coates and going, well, I want to go there because at least I know he's meeting. And so I think you guys are in real danger. And look, to the church in America, grace and peace to you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. This is coming for us too. This is not, look, when the Biden administration and the Democrats in the House and the Senate can get together and they can say, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pack the court. Well, we're not going to pack the court. We're going to unpack the court by adding Supreme Justices. Okay. And we're going to make D.C. and Puerto Rico a state. So we get those extra, there's just those few extra electoral votes that we need. This is a hostile government takeover that is happening both in Canada and America. In North America right now, our government is experiencing a hostile takeover. I saw somebody post on Facebook the other day. They said if packing the Supreme Court and forcing statehood on DC and Puerto Rico is not a cause for succession, then what is? And my answer is abortion. Obviously. And I think we're just past the point of where there's going to be any sort of resolve on this based on people rising up. I think Canada is a great way to look at that. If the church in Canada is not rising up to stop what is happening there, they're not going to rise up. They're not rising up to stop what's going to be happening in America. The American church isn't going to. Now, there's going to be some. There's a lot more crazy churches that are going to fight against this sort of ridiculousness. But here's the point. The government is not going to give you these freedoms back. There's not going to be a time when the government says, hey, you know what, guys? You guys suffered long enough. Thank you guys all for your cooperation. We're giving you your freedoms back. It's just not going to happen. And I actually have proof of that, besides historical proof that the government does not give freedoms back without war. Here is Supreme Leader Dr. Anthony Fauci, head and good and kind leader of the United States of America. Long may he live. And the troll, Mr. Jim Jordan. But by the way, I can't stand Dr. Fauci, and this video will show you why. We're going to go through this whole thing. This is very important. Props to Jim Jordan for really just nailing this guy. And yeah, I won't say anything. We'll just play it and we'll go from there.
My message, Congressman Jordan, is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as we possibly can to get the level of infection in this country low, that it is no longer a threat. That is when. And I believe when that happens, you will see.
What determines when?
I'm sorry.
What measure? I mean, are we just going to continue this forever, or when do we get to the point? What measure? What standard? What objective outcome do we have to reach before Americans get their liberty and freedoms back?
You know, you're in.
That's a pretty basic question, don't you think? I mean, we're just asking about giving us our liberties back. Hey, is there an objective standard? Is there some sort of objective measurement? Is there some sort of objective time frame? Is there some sort of time limit on this sort of suspension of the First Amendment that we can use? Is that a thing? Or are we just gonna just let you do whatever you want? You're taking people's jobs away. You're taking people's businesses away. This man is a dictator. This man has way too much power. He has way too much authority. He is not in any way an elected official. And he is running our nation right now. Supreme Leader Fauci is running our country right now. This is the guy. He is the king, and he is unelected. And this is how regimes are formed. This is how dictatorial regimes are formed. What was I watching? I was watching something yesterday, and it was mentioning about how North Korea is called the Democratic Republic of North Korea. Well, how did that happen? Oh, it was at the conference I was at. So North Korea is called the Democratic Republic of North Korea. Well, how did that happen? Well, the people gave up liberty after liberty and gave more power to government and gave more and more and more until eventually they had a supreme ruler, and that supreme ruler just decided at one point, you know what, man, who cares? What, elections don't mean anything anymore. And at that point, we had no control over our country. And I'm going to tell you right now, we obviously know that elections don't mean anything anymore. And we also know that they're going to pack the Supreme Court to make sure that there can be no objection to any sort of election fraud ever again. So we're in a very dangerous place. And it's all thanks to our Supreme Leader, Dr. Fauci. Let's continue.
Indicating liberty and freedom, I look at it as a public health measure to prevent people from dying and going to the hospital.
You don't think Americans' liberties have been threatened the last year, Dr. Fauci? They've been assaulted. Their liberties have.
I don't look at this as a liberty thing.
That's the problem, Dr. Fauci, is that you don't look at this as a liberty thing. It is a liberty thing. And Dr. Fauci has this idea that I can take people's liberties away for the sake of health and welfare. And you cannot do that, sir. You cannot take away people's liberties. And I honest to goodness, guys, I don't know what it's going to take. When our friends in Canada are having their church confiscated and fences are going up around the church and they're 4 hours north of me, they're not separated by ocean. They're not separated by water. They're separated just by an imaginary border that we invented. That's it. That's all that's holding them away is a drive down to Moscow, Idaho. That is coming here. That is not far away. Culture doesn't change that fast in that short of a distance. Especially when the age of the internet, the difference between Canada and America is not a lot. There are differences, for sure. Somebody might call me racist for saying that. But what... you never know nowadays with these people. You never know. But there's not a lot of cultural difference in the pure sense of the word from Canada and America 4 hours north of here. They still have Facebook. They still watch TV. They watch American TV. They might have different Canadian channels. They might have a state-run news organization. Well, I mean, come on. We have state-run news organizations. Let's stop kidding ourselves. So there's not a lot of difference, is what I'm trying to say. And stuff that happens 4 hours north of me, and probably actually to the border is probably a lot less. Something that happens that close is going to come here very, very quickly. It's not going to be that long. And this is very concerning to me that Dr. Fauci thinks that he can suspend the liberties of human beings that are given by God. Think about it. If your liberties come from God, how can this man take them away unless he thinks he's God? And that's the problem. We're dealing with theology here. And this man thinks he's God. And we got to rise up and stop this nonsense. Thank you, Jim Jordan. Let's continue this pounding of the Supreme Leader.
Congressman Jordan.
Well, that's obvious.
As a public health thing.
But
I disagree with you on that.
You think the Constitution is suspended during a virus, during a pandemic?
Completely valid question. I just want to add. It's completely great question to ask. Is the Constitution suspended? This is why we have to understand. So I know that Biden said, well, no amendment is written in stone. And to some degree, that's true. Thank God, because now we can drink alcohol, right? Like, to a certain degree, that's true. But the first 10 amendments are under a different classification. We call them the Bill of Rights. And the reason we call them the Bill of Rights is because they are inalienable and they cannot be taken away. A virus cannot take away your right to worship. A virus cannot take away your right to assemble. A virus cannot take these things away. It just can't happen. And when we say, well, okay, well, there are specific instances where these rights don't matter, when we're going to assume that these rights are not God-given, when we start there, there's no more Constitution anymore. There's no more. This is a completely different country. At this point, we are not living in the America that the founders intended. This is a completely different country at this point. We have a completely different form of government. Our government is run by doctors and big tech. That is our government right now. It is an oligarchy, call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It is a government that is in defiance of the laws of God and the freedoms of man that he has given. And this should outrage. This is just nightmare. This is a horror film we're living in right now. And everybody's being quiet about it and eating popcorn.
It's certainly not.
This will end for sure when we get the level of infection very low. It is now at such a high level, there's a threat again of major surge.
Dr. Fauci, over the last year, Americans' First Amendment rights have been completely attacked. Your right to go to church, your right to assemble, your right to petition your government, freedom of the press, freedom of speech have all been assaulted. I mean, for a year now, Americans haven't been able to go to church. Even today, when they go to church, they're limited in the size of worshipers who can meet. Your right to assemble? Oh, my goodness. We had a curfew last fall in Ohio. You had to be in your home at 10. In Pennsylvania, you had to be in your home. When you're in your home, you had to wear a mask. In Vermont, when you're in your home, you didn't have to wear a mask, Dr. Fauci, because you weren't allowed to have people over to your house.
Yeah, Congressman Jordan.
Your ability to petition your government for a year, American citizens haven't been able to come to their capital to petition their government, to talk to their representatives, and freedom of the press. These very pictures that Representative Scalise just showed you and talked about, guess what? The press isn't allowed in those facilities. The press is not, the Biden administration will not let the press in there. And certainly freedom of speech. I mean, governor of our third largest state meets with physicians, and that video is censored because they dare to disagree with Dr. Fauci. So I just want to know, when do Americans get their First Amendment liberties back?
You know, I don't think anything was censored because they felt they couldn't disagree with me. I think you're
Oh, that is, this is how dictators roll, right? So here's all these liberties he's taken away, and then Jim Jordan goes, and then there are accounts that have been suspended because they disagree with you, and Dr. Fauci goes, oh, I don't think it was because of me. It's not because of me. It is. This is our Kim Jong-un. This man right here is our dictator. He is our ruler. What he says goes. And I don't know what it is people have on this guy that would either allow them to, or maybe he has stuff on people. I have no idea. But the fact that he has this much power and authority is really frightening and concerning, because I'm going to tell you, the Democrats do not give power and authority to just anybody. I do not think you can become powerful within the Democratic Party without them having some sort of dirt on you that they can bribe you and do what they want with. I just don't think it's possible. And for the most part, that's true in the Republican Party too. I think our government is so corrupt, and this is just absolutely frightening right now that this is even happening. How do we even deal with this? Like, what is the solution? How do we get rid of this unelected guy? Well, you say, well, we just have an election, and then when we get the election, we just make sure that we get more senators and Republicans in, and then they can deal with it. I don't think that's going to work anymore. I think this whole system is rigged against us. I remember listening to Sean Hannity years ago. It was Sean Hannity or Mark Levin. It was one of those guys. This was 10 years ago. This is probably when Obama won the election. And somebody called into a show and he says, at what point is civil war an option? Like, this was when Obama was in office. Obama's looking great right now, by the way. I'd be so happy to have Obama as president, as opposed to the unknown mysterious people that are chewing up and spitting into the mouth of Biden for him. I really would. I really would. Because I think Obama, as awful and terrible as he was, I think he was a protection against Hillary Clinton. And then, of course, Trump, of course, was a protection against Hillary Clinton. So I think there was something going on. I don't think they were as friendly with each other as they would like you to believe, those two. But anyway, we're in some serious danger. I don't know what, I mean, I have to think about 4th of July that's coming up in a few months. Independence Day. Can you honestly celebrate Independence Day now? Can you honestly look at fireworks with a mask on over your face out of fear of the government and say, Happy Independence Day? I can't. I can't. Maybe we could do something else on the 4th of July, but I don't think we can celebrate our nation's independence anymore. We could use, it might be a historical lesson of what we once were, but it's certainly not a time to celebrate the country that we're living in right now. Not with this supreme leader in charge.
You're making this a personal thing, and it isn't.
It's not a personal thing.
No, you are. That is exactly what you're doing.
No, your recommendations carry a lot of weight, Dr. Fauci. We just had the chair of the Financial Services Committee said she loves you and you're the greatest thing in the world.
My recommendations are consistent.
Will the gentleman yield?
No, it's my
Now,
time.
can I answer the question, please? My recommendations are not a personal recommendation. It's based on the CDC guidance, which
all praise the CDC. All glory to the CDC. The CDC has determined, the CDC has set forth, the CDC has ruled, bow down and worship the CDC. The CDC has gone back and forth and have said so many things. I'm going to tell you right now, if you worship the CDC as your God, you have one of the most contradictory source texts of a religion you could possibly ever have. It's insane. This is insane. And Jim Jordan is actually absolutely smashing him right now. By the way, I really do wish Jim Jordan wasn't wearing a mask when he's talking to Dr. Fauci. I think at this point, anytime somebody has a conversation with Dr. Fauci, the mask should come off. I know he'll be escorted out of the chambers. I get it. He'll be escorted out. But if I was him, I would have a mask on. And I would just be talking to him and I would just rip it off and still dive in. And I would have security just escort me out as I'm vote for me. Vote for me. This guy is nightmare fuel.
And I'm asking the question, what measures have to be attained before Americans get their First Amendment liberties back?
I just told you that.
No, you haven't given anything specific.
No, he didn't. What a liar. This man is a liar. This man did not say specifically at all what needs to happen in order for us to get our liberties back. He didn't. He just flat out lied.
You said, we hope when this... Tell me specifically.
Right now, we have about 60,000 infections a day, which is a very large risk for a surge. We're not talking about liberties. We're talking about a pandemic that has killed 560,000 Americans.
You know what else has killed more than 560,000 Americans? Abortion. Can we just shut down the government because there's a medical emergency? Because of abortion? These are questions we need to ask Republicans that are running for office. If you believe that the restrictions for COVID are acceptable, Or even if for a period of short time, let's say 2 to 3 weeks, flatten the curve, whatever, right? Even for that short time, you were there for it. Well, why can't we shut down the government because of abortion? Like, this man is so evil and wicked, and yes, I called him evil and wicked. He is evil and wicked. This has to be said. This man is evil and wicked, and we have to call it out like it is. The man is not our friend. He's not your friend. He is not your children's or your great-grandchildren's friend. He is a danger to them. And we cannot let this man do this any longer. I don't know how to get him out of power because he's not elected official. I don't know, but we need to have protests, peaceful protests. I'm not wishing violence on Dr. Fauci at all. But we need to have protests. We need to gather outside of the CDC building without masks. We need to have rallies. We need to absolutely 100% defy these orders. And if your church is not meeting, if you're still doing Zoom church, I think it's time for you to consider just abandoning that church. If you haven't done so already. I imagine most of you have. That listen to this show anyway. But if perhaps you're listening for the first time, if your church has not met person to person, and your church has complied with every single government order, and it doesn't look like your church is going to meet anytime soon, it's time to find another church. Because your pastor is bending a knee to this man. And look at him. Is this the man you want your pastor to bend a knee to? I mean, we pick the worst gods. We pick the worst lords. Like, this guy, get out of here.
And I
That's
get that,
what we're
Doc,
talking about.
and I don't disagree with that, and I understand how serious that is, but I also understand it's pretty serious when businesses have been shut down, people can't go to church, people can't assemble in their own homes with their friends, with their families, people can't go to a loved one's funeral, people can't get to their government, petition their representative to redress their grievances. Right. I also understand the First Amendment's pretty darn important, and it's been a year, and I want to know when Americans will get those First Amendment liberties back.
Right. You just said people cannot assemble in their own homes. They can. That's a CDC recommendation for vaccinated
Not last
people.
fall they couldn't.
I didn't hear.
Not last fall they couldn't.
I didn't hear what he said.
I didn't hear what he said. I don't believe him. I think he's a liar. He just doesn't want to answer the question. It's easier for him just to say, I didn't hear what he said. I don't believe you, Dr. Fauci. Yeah,
time has expired.
I think Jim Jordan knew that he was just going to say I didn't hear him, no matter what he said next. Fauci was done and saying.
I'll give you one instance of when we can get our liberties back. It's when 90% of the members of the United States Congress get vaccinated.
Well, I want to know if
that guy just said the American citizens can get their liberties back when 90% of congressmen become vaccinated. What in the world is this guy talking about? My liberties are not dependent on my senator and congressman getting vaccinated. The Constitution is not dependent on people getting vaccinated. And this is why I really want to encourage you. I really want to encourage you guys to not get vaccinated. Even if there was no health risk at all. Even if the COVID vaccine did exactly what it said it did, if it was completely safe, I would encourage you not to get vaccinated. And the reason is because we cannot allow the government to wave that carrot in front of us. We can't allow it. We cannot allow the government to demand something like that in exchange for our liberties and freedoms. The response has to be that we are free, our liberties are given to God, by God, to us, and that there's absolutely nothing the government can wave in front of us and dangle in front of us as we hope to get our liberties back. We just can't do it. Whenever the government does that, we just have to say no. We're going to live our lives. We're going to do our thing. We're going to live normal lives. We're going to boastfully joy and take pleasure in the freedoms that God has given us, despite the government. That's what we have to do now. I can't think of anything more serious and critical than this. I don't know, like, if this isn't the line, I don't know what is. And let me just speak to the conservatives here. Conservatives are thinkers. And we like to strategize. And we like to plan. And we're not really good at it. We're not as good as the liberals. But we like to develop think tanks. We like to develop panels. We'll have panels. We'll do meetings. We like our talk radio. But at some point, conservatives, like, we have to act. We have to do something. So first off, thank God for all the churches that are still open. Shame on every church that's closed. Shame completely. And I really do pray that God grants strength to people to be able to fight this, because this is what we're looking at right now. Is we have a government that is out of control at a level the United States government has never seen before. We have a government who will very boastfully do what it needs to win elections. I don't think there's any question in that. Call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't care. Whatever. We have a government who is not only willing to be deceitful when it comes to elections, we have judges who won't hear cases. And we have, as our only hope, a conservative Supreme Court, which is about to be just completely useless. It'll be up to 30 people in 3 presidential terms, if God gives us another Republican president again, which at this point I kind of doubt he ever will. So we have all levels of the government, and this isn't even talking about business corruption too, right? So you have all these organizations, whether it's from Disney to NASCAR, they're being subverted by liberals who don't know how to build companies themselves, but they do know how to join boards. And they're taking over these organizations. So we have businesses that are being overrun. We have cities, local governments that are being overrun. We have all these problems, all these situations. Everything is we're being taken over. And we are losing this battle. We are losing this battle. And I don't know what else there is to do at this point. I don't see any outcome in the near future that's going to lead to a just civil war. I don't see how that'll happen. I don't believe several things on that. I don't believe that the people that want to fight on our side in a war have the worldview and Christian ethic and backbone to do so righteously. And that concerns me. And even if we were to go to war and win somehow, or we were to actually succeed, if that were to ever happen, honestly, I can't imagine. Even if we were to succeed, you would have pro-life lobbies making rape and incest abortions in a new government that is formed out of the succession. So it's like I don't even want to live in the country that comes out of whatever the United States becomes at this point. There's just no thought leaders in positions of power who have a Christian worldview that would make me even excited to fight on their team. And here's what we don't have. This is not like this is not at all like the American Revolution. The American Revolution being led by the Black Robe Regiment, Presbyterian pastors who would stand in the pulpit, they would preach, and then they would take their robe off, grab their gun, and go out on the battlefield and fight. There's very few pastors I know out there like that would be willing to do that. And here's the other thing. We're not trained for war. We're not physically fit. We watch Netflix all day. We have office jobs. We don't have the physicality to be able to do that. Like there is no outcome here other than a massive miraculous revival, which I think that could happen. And the fact that I don't think it'll happen is a good chance that it will, because that's how God works. He does these sort of things with nothing. It just comes out of nowhere. And it will happen eventually. No matter the destruction and smoke and ashes that comes from the United States, the church will succeed. The church will prosper. And just to comment on that, every time a government falls, there's a reformation, and then a government falls, and so we see it with the Reformation, we see it with the Great Awakening. The one thing that comes out of that is the technology that Christians built. So whatever comes next, whatever happens next, we're not going to have to invent the internet again. We're not going to have to invent cell phones again. That knowledge is out there. It cannot be put back. It can't be put back. So, whatever comes after America 2.0, for the sake of argument, whatever comes after, a strong Christian foundation like the founders had, but technology that we have now, it's going to explode. And so I know I'm sounding pessimistic here because I'm a post-millennialist. I'm supposed to be pessimistic. I'm pessimistic in this moment. I'm pessimistic about the churches that have closed down, the lack of solid political leaders with a biblical worldview. I'm pessimistic about those things. But here's what I know. I know that Christ will not be stopped. I know that his church will prosper. And I know that the blood of the martyr is the seed of the church. But what I am telling you is that we need to be really prepared and accept the fact that we live in a world where we will see Christians persecuted. Your children will probably be persecuted for going to church. We have to wake up to that. We just have to wake up to that. We have to plan for that. Now, with that being said, we should not be giving in. We should not give up. We still have internet. And I'm going to tell you, if you guys watched last week when I did the interview with Devin Davis, I was broadcasting live from Idaho the fencing of a church, the absolute hostile takeover, and it was hostile. The hostile takeover of a church was being broadcasted as it happens. And I cannot think of a time, maybe somebody can correct me, but I cannot think of a time, it's probably very few, that a first world country has had the church persecuted to that degree, and it was able to be viewed live on Facebook and streamed to everybody. And if you guys haven't seen that, you need to go back, you need to go watch the video I did last week. Obviously, YouTube and Facebook suppressed the heck out of it. But you need to watch it. If you're listening on the Fight Laugh Feast app, you can listen to it there. The audio of it anyway. I might have uploaded the video with it too. It might be on the app. But you have to go back and watch that. Because while I was doing that, I kept thinking, if the blood of the martyr is the seed of the church, what happens when the blood of the martyr can be broadcasted for all to see, for all to stream, for all to download, for all to view? Isn't that fertilizer on that church? That is some stuff. So, look, guys, these are the cards God has given us. He has placed us in this time. You have two options. You can put your head down. You can get to work. You can, just take care of your family as you should. But you can do so quietly, and you can just let things happen. Or you can look around you, see what's happening, and realize it is time to risk it all. It is time to start moving and building things. It is time to start fighting, protesting, being loud, refusing. At this point, we should refuse every single request of the government. Every single one of them. We should refuse all these new COVID requests. Because as my pastor says, when talking about this issue, I think it's a good point. If you have a child and he's disobedient in school and he punches a teacher in the face and he's suspended and he comes back to school the next day and you see his shirt untucked and you say, if you don't tuck that shirt in, you're going to be suspended again. It's not the fact that his shirt is untucked that's the problem. It's the history of that child. And you know that he's doing that in a means of disrespect. And so when the government is pushing this stuff on us, when the government is forcing this sort of garbage on us, it's just a mask. It is not just a mask. It is wearing that mask leads to businesses losing business. It leads to jobs being lost. It leads to families not being able to be with their loved ones when they're sick. It leads to things like suicide. It leads to depression. It leads to churches being shut down. That mask is a symbol of the government wanting to rob you of everything you have left. It's just a mask. It is not just a mask. It is now a symbol. It is a symbol of Dr. Fauci and the supreme rulers, the supreme leaders that have pitted themselves against the Almighty God, that have said, we're going to take your liberties away from you and it's okay because it's for your safety. I'm going to tell you right now. The people who came over here and started this country, they got on a boat, packed themselves in a boat. They got sick. They got diseases. Many of their family members and their children died on the way here. Then they get here and they almost starve to death. And if it wasn't for, the 4 kernels of corn is how the legend goes. If it wasn't for those 4 kernels of corn, for the fish and the Indians that helped them, if it wasn't for them, they would have died too. But you know what? They weren't concerned about their health and safety. You know what they were concerned of? You know what motivated them? Freedom. They were willing to risk freedom. They were willing to risk their families' lives, their kids' lives, their children's lives, for the sake that some of them might survive and live and be free. They thought it was worth the risk. That's a question we really have to ask now. Because I think we're at a point we have to stop being nice. We have feminists on Twitter who are just out of control and they're claiming to be Christians. We can't be nice. We have feminists on Twitter claiming to be Christians who are cheering 200 police officers showing up at a church and putting a fence around it. And meanwhile, I'm having conversations with people in Canada who are talking about Canada. They're talking about how they have to sneak people into their homes one at a time and make sure they leave one at a time, staggered as to not draw attention from the neighbors. And you have feminist, insane women on Twitter that are cheering, claiming to be Christians, that are cheering this nonsense. Go live in Canada then. That's what I say. I mean, it's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. And we're seen as the crazy ones. You have two options. You have two options right now. It's faith and freedom, or you're going to hold on to your faith, but you're going to lose your freedom. Now we have the opportunity right now, right this moment, we have the chance to stand up to this nonsense and save our country for our children. And it bothers me, it really does bother me right now when I don't see a lot of people marching on Washington, D.C. Like, this is insane nonsense at a level we've never seen before. And people are tired. People have given up. People are not fighting anymore. People are not going out to rallies at their local Capitol buildings. People are not defying the government in massive numbers. We've all figured out ways to have this conversation, to discuss this. We've all figured out these ways to live in this COVID world. And we're like, well, how do we fight? How do we fight bad? Like, what's the best way to fight with a mask on? And no. The best way to fight is to take the mask off. The best way to fight is to fight. It reminds me of like when you see the British and the American like during the Revolutionary War, right? And you got all these people and they're lined up so nicely. They're just lined up and they're just, okay guys, we're gonna shoot. And then they shoot, or it's like a turn-by-turn RPG where like you gotta wait for the other person to fight and then you counter and then you hope that like your defense that you wasted a whole move on. That's why I can't play RPGs, because you have to like use an entire move to like up your defense. But it's like, why would I do that in any real world? Why don't I just stab the guy in the throat? Like, I don't get the turn-by-turn games. And this is exactly what we've done. We are fighting this political battle right now as if it's a turn-by-turn game. And what we need is the guerrilla warfare. We need the guys that are just going to go out and they're going to stay in front of Grace Life Church and they're not going to leave. They're not going to leave. They're paying for security. You need to walk. The guys at Grace Life Church, I love you. I think you guys are doing a great job. But you please do not go so quietly. And I don't know anything that's going on there. I don't know if you guys have plans. I don't know what's going on. But But the church in America, I'm telling you, to all the people in Canada right now, the church in America is looking to you because what happens to you is going to happen to us in this moment. And when I look around and I saw a video today and just Grace Life Church, just abandoned. It was like one security guard there. But ultimately, it was just abandoned. And there's a part of me inside that is like, I am glad they're still meeting in an undisclosed place. But there's another part of me that says, guys, like, make some noise for us, for America. And they still might. I don't know what's going on. I don't have the inner workings of their conversation or anything like that. I don't know what is going on. But I will say that if it comes to America, we cannot go quietly. And we can't go violently either. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not calling for war. I'm not calling for bloodshed. But I am calling us to be as loud as and defiant as possible. Because I think we're at the point now where a theology of Romans 13 that is so ran America for the past 60 years or more, it just doesn't work anymore. That version of Romans 13 doesn't work anymore. We're coming face to face with real questions, real concerns, real suppression of our liberties. It's scary. It is scary. And it's not looking any better. It's not looking any better at all. Like I said, we really need to come together and pray. We really need to put our trust in Christ right now because we are only, 3 months into the Biden administration and they're already openly, proudly boasting in the fact that they're going to unpack the Supreme Court? 3 months into the Biden administration and Fauci can't give an answer as to when COVID restrictions are going to be lifted. Look, think about this. Just think about this thought for a moment. Everybody gather around. The Democrats, you would think, would want a win right now. And a win for them would be to fudge the numbers. We know the Democrats know how to fudge numbers. A win for the Democrats would be to fudge the COVID numbers and make it go away. And then Democrats can say, look at what we did. Guys, we did it. Aren't the Democrats great? This is why you should vote for Democrats every time. COVID is over. It's over. We won. But that's not what's happening. See, that's an easy political win. Right? They got Trump out. However they did it. They got Trump out. And now they can take the victory for all the vaccinations that they've given out. They can take the victory for how well the lockdowns have worked. They can take that victory. But they're not taking that victory. They're not taking that victory. What are they doing? They're buckling down because they know it's worked. They're buckling down harder. Like they're not stopping. Like that is frightening to me that they don't want the political win. That is scary. Take the political win. Just say it's worked and it's over. And then all the Democrats will vote for you. That's not what's happening. Honestly, like that was when Biden got elected, I was like, okay, well they want that COVID win. So maybe the restrictions will be lifted. But that's not how governments work. Governments don't give you your freedoms back. If Jim Jordan and Supreme Leader Dr. Fauci have taught us anything today, it's that the government does not give your freedoms back. Once they take it, it is gone. It is gone. It is gone. And unless the government fears for the people. They're not going to do anything. And guys, it is quiet. It is quiet. The gates are up at D.C. Why? The gates are not up at D.C. because of their safety and what happened at the Capitol. The gates are up at D.C. so that you cannot march, so that you cannot protest, so that you cannot fight peacefully. And I just want to make that clear. That is why everything is on lockdown in D.C. They want to keep you guys from rallying together and showing that you hate this. And I don't hear about anything happening in any other city or state. Sure, we got mask mandates lifted, and some states have lifted mask mandates. Those same states are still pushing vaccination. They're not being consistent with this. It's like, yay, we lifted the mask mandates. Everybody gonna get vaccinated. By the way, do you think that these governments who are pushing vaccinations now are going to rise up against the federal government when it comes to vaccine passports? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Who was I? I was having a conversation yesterday, and we were talking about this, and I think it was Texas. And there were federal regulations that were I think we were talking about wearing a mask in an airport or something like that. And I guess a while back ago, there was some sort of plane it was TSA. Texas, yes, Texas stopped the TSA. They wrote a bill. They said, we're going to end the TSA in Texas. And the federal government said, that's what the federal government said. The federal government said, if you remove the TSA, we will make it illegal for you and anyone in the state of Texas to fly statewide. And no international service either, if you remove the TSA. So what happened? Texas still has TSA. They backed down. They backed down. Like this stuff isn't conspiracy theories. This is not conspiracy theories. You've lived through this for the past year. You have lived through this. You are living through this now. It is not a conspiracy theory. Dr. Fauci cannot give you a clear date on when he will give you his liberties back. That is not a conspiracy theory. He just said it. He just told you there is no date. There is no objective time frame. There is not even an objective statistic as to when your dates, your freedoms come back to you. There's none. It is not a conspiracy theory, what we're living in right now. We are living in the Twilight Zone. Call it what you want. We are living in Black Mirror. Call it what you want. You're living in a turn-by-turn RPG, and you are losing really, really badly because you don't fight, and you're just putting on the medication, and you're up in the defense. It doesn't work that way, man. This is the real world. This is the real world. If you put on defense potion, the liberals are going to slit your throat and laugh at you. It's not a turn-by-turn RPG we're living in right now. Matt McGee says, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy, which is a crime. Yes, absolutely, 100%. This is not a game. Like, this is really, really bad. Well, like, just this week, Supreme Court packing. D.C. Puerto Rico statehood for the sake of securing the Electoral College. Remember, they were against the Electoral College, right? We got to get rid of the Electoral College. Well, no, we don't. We can just get D.C. and Puerto Rico statehood. Then we don't need the Electoral College. They're going to secure statehood for those. They're going to get those extra Electoral College, which, by the way, to all my people in Puerto Rico, I watched some stuff on you guys being this great tax haven. If you're in Puerto Rico, you guys need to put in some really conservative laws, because that would be pretty amazing if you guys do become a state and all the conservatives flock to you because of your tax haven. You should keep that. I doubt you will. But that would be amazing to flip the script and turn Puerto Rico red. Who cares? It doesn't matter. They're forcing all this stuff on you guys. Like so Fauci won't give us our liberties back. There's no clear time. Vaccination passports are coming. You will not be able to travel on an airplane unless you've been proven that you have your vaccine passport. I'm going to have to start a GoFundMe for an RV just so I can do my job and travel as I'm going to need to. Like, I don't understand. Like, this is a real problem. I don't know what to do. This is insanity that we're on the verge of. They're going to pack the Supreme Court. They're going to make DC statehood. They're doing all these. Oh, guns. Guns are going away. This was just this week too, right? Guns. Second Amendment. I haven't even got to talk about the Second Amendment and the guns yet. I haven't even gotten there yet. They're taking away your guns. They're taking away your ability to go to church. They're taking away your ability just to shop and have transactions with people. They're taking away your ability to actually use your property as you want. So, for example, if I have a restaurant and it serves 100 people, I can't use my property as I want to. That's property rights. It is my restaurant. I should be able to do what I want with it. Freedom of commerce, they're taking that away. Everything is being taken away right now. And I don't hear anything from anybody. We know Fox News is not on our side anymore. And all the alt media has been kicked off of Facebook and Twitter. And I'm going to tell you, as much as I like Gab, as much as I support them, and as much as I like alt tech and I'm rooting for alt tech, I'm still on Facebook. That's where majority of my interaction and engagement is. Although Gab's engagement is really good, it's still not at the level of Facebook yet. Maybe it's just a design thing. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe as people begin to use it more and more frequently, the engagement will go up. But look, guys, my engagement on Gab has dropped. It's dropped significantly. And it's not because of not posting or anything like that. It's because there's just not as many people on it routinely anymore. That's just the problem with building a social network, is you have to get people and you have to keep them. This is why the Facebook algorithm works the way it does. It keeps you there. Sucks. Even guys on the Fight Laugh Feast network like AD and Matt, I haven't heard from I see AD on YouTube, but I haven't seen anything from Matt Williams in my feeds anymore. I know I can find him on the Fight Laugh Feast app, but I don't see anything. Yeah, like so what I'm afraid is happening is that alt tech has pushed conservatives into these shadow zones, into their own bubble. And now we're not able to really organize. We're not able to really come together and plan. So there's a lot to think about. This is why if you build a tech company, you need to build one that goes right for everybody and for everybody, not just for a certain group of people. I think that you got to make something better altogether. And that's what we're doing with Lore. But anyway, so yeah, Matt says Gab has no app, so there's no notifications on the phones. That's true. I now on Android I'm able to download a sort of Gab app, which is really just the web-based app. But you're right, it doesn't give me it does give me notifications actually when I do that. But if you have an iPhone, it probably doesn't. But it just makes things complicated. And they also don't have private messaging either, which has kind of bugged me because it's kind of hard to keep in touch with people And I also noticed too, because they don't have an AI that controls the algorithm, you just see everything and not really the things you want to see. So there's a lot of value to the Facebook algorithm. It was built very specifically. And there's a lot we can learn from algorithms. And we can use them wisely. And we can use AI wisely, but we just have to keep in mind that AIs are built with a worldview. So that's the problem with Facebooks. But anyways, guys, I think this has been a great show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for joining in. Be sure to subscribe to the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Be sure to subscribe and join, become a Fight Laugh Feast member, and you can get a bunch of stuff online, some really great stuff. So you go ahead and do that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And again, thanks for watching. Oh, man, that was fun, guys, right? I see people are still in the chat. Just want to say hi. Hi to everybody still in the chat. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I got kind of fired up there a little bit, but as I'm talking, I just trying to see how you guys are doing. But anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the show. If you're still watching, if you're still on and watching, I hope you share it. I hope you promote it. I hope you tell your friends about it. Get the word out there. I think it's really important. That episode, it came from the heart, guys. It came from the heart. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching. I didn't think I was going to go that long, but I was I was in it. All right, guys. Have a great day.